One of the most simple things that we talk about in the book can also be one of the hardest, and that's balance. One of the bold choices is you have to be in balance in life. And let me give you the key right from the beginning. You're never in balance.
Exactly.
You're always going to be out of balance. So the real thing is, where are your checks and your checks and balance to figure out how far out are you? How do you, it's back to the clarity question of how do you, where you're going and how you're doing, how do you know? The real issue is, how do you remain in balance? When we go through this exercise, and I go through this exercise, it's called the 168 rule. And it's a fun exercise for me to do, because I'll say, hey, 168 is one of the only things in life that's fair. And it's the amount of hours we have in a week. You don't get 169, I don't get 167. Although it does look like at times some people are getting more, that guy got an extra Saturday in this week than I did, right? But the real issue is we have 168. How do you spend them? And I'll go through an exercise and I'll say, how many hours a week do you work? And you'll say, 40, 50 hours a week, let's say 50. I'll say, how many hours a week do you sleep? And you'll say 7 a night, so let's just say 50. Well, that's 100 of the 168 right there. And normally I would list out all the other activities of what you like to do in life. All the things that give you energy, all the to-dos and everything else. And I say, you have 68 hours to fit all that in. And then the reality is, do you really work 50 or do you work 60 hours? And how much time do you spend watching TV? And 68 hours becomes 58 hours, becomes 48 hours, becomes 38 hours very quickly. And the reality is, if you're not proactive on this list over here, talking about what you want to do, you get out of balance very quickly. And this is where the statement of stuck comes in of, hey Jay, how come I'm so tired?
Right.
And then most of the time I'll say, it's because you're out of balance. You're not doing any of the energy giving activities over here. You're doing a lot of the energy sucking activities over here, and you're not adding enough of the energy giving activities. And people say, I don't have time to do it. And I go, yeah, you do, because it's just a matter of how you're managing your time.
Right.
And you begin to realize that you have to manage this in order to get in balance. And when you do, you'll have more energy for the journey. And when you don't, you won't have the energy, you'll be a victim of your circumstance, you'll be out of balance, and all sorts of bad things happen.
My world seems to always live in this creative tension where it's always, do I live out my faith? Do I reach the bottom line? How do I find the right balance of that? How do I find the right balance between work and family? All those things. And I think that part of that, which I love that Jay shares, is the fact that the more that you're in balance, I think that the more that you're invaluable to others, quite frankly. It's a situation like that, but you have to really take this down to literally sometimes a moment by moment situation of making these right choices that sometimes, again, are these very bold, tougher, right choices. Because one of the things that I've actually incorporated that Jay shares relates to, how do you look at your 168 hours? And I think two of the most challenging questions to ask each other relates to, well, what should I be doing more of that's adding more to life? But more importantly, what do I need to shed or let go of so I can be doing the things that are meaningful? And for the majority of us, it is really hard to start to shed the things that really have no value or have little value. Right. So I think that's been a very challenging thing as it relates to balance. If we each looked at the 168 hours, I bet you that you could cut a lot of stuff out of there that really is not meaningful, nor does it contribute to a significant life.